Hello and welcome to another episode of Fearlessly Unbroken. I am your host, Dr. Taylor Luster, and today I am bringing you one of my best friends, Dr. Shelby Carter, and we are going to be talking about all sorts of things that make her nice and uncomfortable. So I know she's super excited about this. First, I would like to introduce Miss Shelby Carter.
Hi everybody, like she said, I'm Dr. Shelby Carter. I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska, and I practice in Lincoln, so, yeah.
So I met Shelby. I guess we should start there.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's a good place usually. I met Shelby at Logan University where we went to school together, and she forced herself onto me as my friend. We were in this testing center, and she just like gave me a hug one day. She's like, "You need a hug." I'm like, "Who are you? You know, like, why are you hugging me?" And then the next thing I know, she's messaging me on Facebook and is like, having a panic attack in a closet, and is like, "You're my friend now, okay?" And it's like, "Oh, okay. Who are you again?"
Yeah, we were on Tribe, and I was messaging you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have anxiety?
Yes, it was very funny. I think that was what you asked me. Do you have anxiety?
Yeah, I did.
Or why are you in the testing center?
Yeah. So they always say an extrovert helps an introvert. So I've adopted a few introverts in my life. And you made the cut.
It's funny because they think that we need friends as introverts, but really we're cool without them. But, you know, sure. Yeah. Shelby and Christy were definitely some of the ones that were just like, adopt you. I'm like, all right, guys, it's fine. To the point where it was like, I would even try and get out of plans by like saying I had to stay home. And so they would come over to my house instead.
Yeah, that's true also.
I
think we made a deal. You told me how introvert you were, but I could come to your house, like on like occasions. Like I won't go like out and do things with you, but you can come to my house and hang out. I think that was the deal we made.
Yeah, I think it was that I could tolerate more and longer, interactions if I was at least in my own space, like. Yeah. But it was just funny. They were over there all the time. But anyway, so we got to know each other pretty well. Interestingly, Shelby and I are pretty radically different on most things. But for whatever reason, I guess we complement each other nicely. I would say everything. I mean, we had a lot of overlapping themes as well, but it just felt like some of the big things, it was very like polar opposites. Where like she was very, at this point in her life and at that point in my life, she was very science-based and, all of these rules and boxes and structure. And I'm like, well, just wing it. It's fine, and she was very wound up. She had a lot of anxiety about these things. And I was just like, all right, I'm a little bit on the other end. Like, we got to take it down a notch,
I met you after a really hard year and a half, I guess I would say, of my life, and my anxiety was just really out of control. It was controlling me more than me controlling it, and I think that's why you were in my life, to help me say knock it off. Like, these rules are unnecessary, or the way you do things is...
Well, here's a testament. So Shelby is probably the perfect example of someone who really was out of control with anxiety, and she's really just been able to rein it in, which is beautiful. I like to tell the story because I find it very amusing, and Shelby hates it. So, about how she was freaking out because this one car would always park in the same place, and then all of a sudden it didn't park there. So it must be because she started parking over there, and I was like, it's fine. Like you're going crazy. It's fine. And it was just, but it's the perfect example of her spinning out of control, and it started from this one little thought, and it just spiraled completely. And then later learning to master that and say, like, this is unreasonable. Why am I spiraling? And so I guess that's why we're really on here, is to talk about some of these things and how the old stories are very amusing, but she's gotten better.
I've had some crazy times in my life.
She's gotten better. Yeah, you're better.
Better.
So I guess tell us a little bit about, I know you said it was a hard time in your life, some relationship stuff that you had just gotten out of, and it was not great. And go from there, I guess.
Sure. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. So right before Chiro school, I was dating my master's, and that's how I got to Logan. But anyways, I was going through a divorce. I just went through this divorce. I thought I married someone I could spend my life with, and it just wasn't working out. And just finally had enough one day, and I was like, I'm done walking away. This isn't for me. This is not what I want in life. This is not what I expect out of a partner. And so I got a divorce, and then I went to Chiro school by myself, which in itself was a big thing for me because I hadn't lived by myself in many years. Because I was in college, and then we moved to Nebraska, where I'm from.
And you're also from like a super small town.
Yeah, so I'm from a town of 800 people, and like just perspective, my high school class was around 50 people, so like just I knew all my class, they know who I am, or and people kind of above and below classes and stuff like that. So just grew up in a really small town. So it was my first time living in a really big city by myself, and definitely had some anxiety just with that in general, like trying to learn how to be by myself, and I guess feel safe was part of my stuff too. And then I was in like kind of a relationship when I first started Chiro school, and that ended really badly. I was in a really bad car accident. I totaled my car. And then kind of fast forward to like summer of 2017, I was dating somebody. I thought, this guy was great, of course, everything like that. And then things just didn't work out. And that's pretty much when I think we really became friends, like that fall from Tri Break. And so at this point in my life, I just felt like a failure in relationships in my eyes, that these guys had hurt my heart, hurt my feelings, broke my heart, and didn't know how to be me, I guess would be a good way to put it, like what the things that I love to do and how to treat myself, and just how to be by myself, essentially be by myself and be okay with it. So there was a lot of jokes that Taylor and I made that God cleared my chessboard. Like, a relationship was something I wasn't supposed to be focusing on. And so that's
for perspective on that, I guess, because that's a really...
yeah. So I kind of jumped, but...
Yeah, so the chessboard is like she kept trying to have relationships. And she would come up with someone and then put it on the chessboard, basically, and then it was just like, nope. And then another one, nope. And it was just over and over, and it was just like, okay, guess this is not a thing we're doing.
Yeah, so, I guess looking back now, it was hard to see it then, but it's what I needed in life, was to be by myself and to work on, some issues that I had, and I guess poor qualities of myself, or just like my anxiety was like a big one, and just really growing for that. So looking back now, I really appreciate it that I took the time to learn how to love myself and figure out the things I love to do, and who I want to be as a person. And yeah, and so that's really how Taylor and I's relationship started, was me and a bunch of pieces.
I love that this was recorded, that you said that you were grateful for that, because like, I know on one-on-one conversations that it took a while.
I said, looking back now, maybe like, this was like four years ago, 4 years ago now.
I don't know.
I mean, so enough time has passed, and there's so much good in my life from this time as we move forward. That I can say that 4 years ago it was really shitty. It was crappy. It sucked. Not fun whatsoever. But
Yeah.
now I am grateful to where I am now. It got me to where I am.
I just can't wait to play this for you over and over again later. I just can't wait. You said you were grateful. Anyways, no, she was definitely having a hard time for some of that. And again, as we've reiterated through some of these conversations, chiropractic school is literally like, how do you get through chiropractic school? Just surviving chiropractic school. So all of the classes are whatever, I mean, some of them suck, but it's whatever. It's really all of the other things that happen that are hard, and then trying to take all of these classes and care about all of these tests that are happening and all of that. And I guess that leads me to one of the things that I want to talk about, and I just know I just cannot wait to see Shelby's face as we do this. But I used to tell her, so Shelby copes with these things by putting them in boxes. And she likes her boxes. And I mean, Shelby is like that librarian person who's like, everything is labeled, and in the boxes they're like color coordinated and alphabetized, and and
it's funny you say that, because I organized my decor this last weekend in my basement and moved shelves and got like my boxes in order for
oh my
my
gosh.
seasons.
Oh my gosh. And like, not to say that like I can be fairly ADD about these things, like, but the boxes can't mix. So it was, in these kinds of examples, you had Shelby's relationship box, and then her school box, and like all of these personalities like couldn't mix, but all of these parts of her life couldn't mix, I guess. And then there was friends box, and different things, and then all of them were overshadowed by this anxiety, this giant anxiety blanket. And then as things started happening, she had, all of a sudden she has like this chiropractic box, and now this, whatever religion it is at that point, wherever religion is, it's that box. And then there's science box and all of these things, and she's got all of these mini boxes. And then as she kind of knew me, like, I kind of mowed a lot of those boxes down. But with that, I guess, as we were treating the anxiety, as we were helping her manage the anxiety, there were so many other aspects that came into that. And it took us, as I was going down this weird route with myself and being, going from skeptic to spiritual myself, I guess, actually. Then she actually went with me. And I think in one of the podcasts I mentioned that after I went through this whole like awakening at the, where I had a talk with God for the first time, I immediately, like the next day, I was telling Shelby about this, and she was just like, who are you and what did you do with my friend? Because yesterday you were like not even sure God existed, and now you're like, praise Jesus,
Yeah. It was like, you did this like 180, and I was like, excuse me?
Who are you?
Yeah.
But, and we had started out on the same page. Like, we weren't really sure, not really like hostile about God, but like, I don't know. And then it was so surreal because Shelby was one of those people that I really dragged along with me as I was recovering from this massive experience that I had. I mean, and it felt like this explosion had happened in, I guess, all of our lives, because we all had like these similar explosions happening, I guess, in our lives. But I guess mine was probably the loudest. but
Yeah, here's where
but like Christy, Shelby, Megan, and I had just really loud explosions all happening at one time, and so we were all kind of in this place where we could move together. And as we started moving from this skeptic to spiritual and realize, and at the same time experiencing all of the complexity and art of chiropractic and the philosophy of chiropractic, in addition to, I mean, before it had just been the science of chiropractic, and then it became the art and the philosophy and all of that of it. We're moving all this way, and all of a sudden Shelby's boxes are falling apart. And, you know, it's not like... and she's like, we're using chiropractic to treat emotions, and we're not just doing that, we're talking about God during the chiropractic adjustments and having emotional releases and just all sorts of really complex things. And actually we ended up doing most emotional work on Shelby. Well, and that sounds bad, I guess, but that's not how I meant it. But we were doing most emotional work in terms of we found that we could muscle test spiritual stuff. Now, you have to be really, really good at muscle testing, and you have to be very careful with how you take this. But you start with like emotions, and then you can do spiritual stuff as well. Obviously within reason. But anyways, so we found that we could do those things. And it was mostly Shelby, Megan, and I that were doing this really all of the time. And it was really powerful because you could clear these emotions that you were holding about events and stuff. And Shelby was my guinea pig. She would come over and we'd have entire day-long clearing sessions where we'd have to go like eat very bad food afterwards because we were so exhausted. And
I'm not sure how many hours I cried at your house, but you probably should have kept track.
It was kind of intense.
Yeah, so I just want to backtrack a little bit. So Taylor had this 180, and I was like,
oh my God.
You know, like, I was like, I don't know. And whatever. And then so we started doing visual stuff on me, and I can't deny it. Like, I was crying and these emotions, and I could feel them, like, it sounds weird, but, like, release through my body, and just, like, less anxious about, like, stupid stuff. I say stupid, but just, like, you know, things that weren't really in, you know, there was, like, some high school stuff in there, lots of softball, some softball stuff in there, some stuff with friends, relationships, like, and we tested, like, see what it was, and it was just, like, this profound experience, and I'm so grateful that, like, Taylor made me do it, or, like, you know, made me try it.
Well, you kept coming over, so what was I supposed to do?
That's true. And so, like, this is where my boxes get clouded, because if you would have told me this, say, 7 years ago, I'd be like, you're crazy. Like, I wouldn't, and at that time, I probably wasn't not interested in it either. But then, like, I did, and we just kept doing these, like, emotion stuff all the time. And I just, like, felt like I kept breaking, like, levels, if you will. Like, I don't know if levels is a good term, but just, like, I kept feeling better and better. I remember one day, I went to class, and the girls I sat with, girls, like, you seem really calm. Like, what's wrong with you?
What drug are you taking?
Yeah, pretty much. And I was like, oh, no, I just, like, I don't know, like, I just feel chill. Like, I just feel relaxed. And I probably hadn't been relaxed in years. Like, you know, my anxiety just kept building over the years. And, yeah, so anyways, that's kind of, this is where my boxes start to blur and mix, because, like, my science box says no, and, like, you know, my God box says yes, and, like,
I feel like we have to clarify just a little bit, because I guess I kind of, like, word vomited all of that, and then you clarified, and I guess now I have to clarify. Eventually we'll get to the point. It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to give an example. that's a very cute little one that Shelby went to go do. So, when we first started doing this, so you have to buy into muscle testing. And so applied kinesiology, which is the technique that I do, it uses muscle testing as a foundation. And muscle testing is basically just asking your nervous system, your subconscious nervous system, what's going on with your body. And you have to be super good at muscle testing so you don't, as the tester, you're not biasing your tests. But once you get that good at it, then it becomes very, very apparent. And it's one of those things you really have to experience. And once you do, it's just like, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe my body can really tell me these things. And then you can compare them to like actual lab results or whatever. And it really shows up. It's just really the craziest thing that you can ask your body this. But I think it just goes to show about how much we don't know about how our body communicates and stuff like that. But anyway, so you take this muscle testing, and we found that you can use it for emotions. And there's this cool book that we had all kind of read, and it's called The Emotion Code, and it kind of got us started. We just kind of took it and ran with it. We didn't do exactly what they said. But anyways, as we're doing this, it asks you to kind of you're narrowing down. You start by saying like, okay, are we ready to clear an emotion today? How many emotions is it? Was it from the first half of your life or the second half of your life? Was it from, this time, when you were 1 to 5 years old, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, so you're trying to narrow it down to a time frame. And once you do that, you're able to say, okay, who does it involve? And anyway, so one of Shelby's narrows down to this photo on a mantle, and was it a pumpkin patch?
Oh, like I kept seeing this. So it's like a picture my mom has of me as like a little girl, and I'm like sitting on a pumpkin. I'm like 2, 3 in the photo.
But it kind of like, we got down to this. It was like the age. Yeah. I mean, it was really bizarre how we got down to it. And then all of a sudden she's like, I don't know why I'm thinking about this, but and then apparently there was some argument that your parents were having or something while you were at that pumpkin patch, and that's what came up?
Yeah, that's what came up. And then it was whatever emotion, like we tied it back to. But yeah, my parents were arguing about something about me, I think, if I remember correctly.
Well, and you didn't even remember, right? Like, you had to go ask your mom.
Yeah, I did. I did, like, when we were testing, that's what it was like, kind of. Something with this event. So then I like called my mom, asked her about the picture, and she's like, yeah, I know what picture you're talking about. And I was like, did you and Dad argue that day? And like there was like something else with it. I asked her, and she like confirmed it all. Literally confirmed it all. And she's like, yep, Dad and I argued, blah blah blah. And she confirmed it, and I was like, wow. Like, one of those moments like,
uh-oh. I don't know what happened. Hang on. It's fine. I hit my computer camera with my leg, and then it shut off. So we're back. So we were talking about Shelby confirming it with her mom, which was really cool because she was entirely too young to like actively remember that conversation, but it, some part of her subconscious remembered that conversation, which is really what all of this muscle testing is about. So like your body stores emotions and stores all of these memories from all of these events. Anything you've ever been through, your body remembers, even though you might not actively remember. And so that's what we're kind of tapping into with this. And as we were doing that, like we said, like Shelby was forced to kind of deal with that some of these things they could mix, that we could deal with emotions or spiritual stuff or whatever with chiropractic, which was, for Shelby, just science. So I guess as we go, like, let's go that route. Let's talk about, because we talked a little bit about the muscle testing part and what that looked like, but what was it like as some of this was happening? Because Shelby comes from a physical therapy background, and It was very much research based, and she still is to some extent.
Yeah.
But then there was like Taylor's woo woo coming in, which, to be fair, I was not like this for, I went to vet school and I was very, like science based too. Then this shit happened and I don't know. But go ahead, tell us what that was like, I guess.
Yeah, just a little bit more of my background too. Like, so my undergrad's in biology with a minor in chemistry, so that's very lab, like reproducing lab stuff, like, so there's like all that. And then I have my master's in sports science rehab, and that's, when I was a PT tech and shouted out a whole bunch of PTs, so that's what I really loved. And then, yeah, I met Taylor and this, all this stuff. And so as we're going through it, like, like, you question your beliefs. Okay, so where do you really stand on this topic in real life? So to me, and at this point, like, I'm real angry with God. This is where, like, my more sciencey, like, God's not real, like, spiritually, like, this, I'm very shut down in this. I'm like, no. And as we're going through it, I was like, oh shit. Now my boxes are mixing, and how should I feel? And so, like, I kind of had to take a step back and just like, okay, what do I believe? Or, and what do I know? And what do I feel? And luckily I was in a very, like, safe space with Taylor. Like, she knows all my deep, dark secrets. And it was really like having this conversation with Taylor, like, okay, like, I'm struggling with this aspect, or I can't, like, is it okay to believe these things? Like, that's really like almost like approvals, like, or, it's okay to be your own person and believe these things and, speak up for what you believe in. And so as we're doing these emotional stuff and my anxiety's coming down small notches, but it's coming down, and I'm not so spirally or upset or freaking out, like if Taylor didn't message me back, or just like silly things like that. I was like, no, like, I believe in, like, God loves me, and that's kind of hard for me to say. It's still something I struggle with, but I would say God's real. I think we get God winks from Him all the time in life. There is truly good out there, and I've done more praying, I guess. Like, and so it was just like, as I'm going through this, like, I had to adapt and really change my mind on how I felt about things. And I would say part of my working with Taylor through these emotions, like, was working on my relationship with God and what that looks like, and what that looks like for me. And I'm seeking for myself, like, what I want my relationship with God to look like, not in like a big term, or it's your own personal walk with God, and what you want to talk to Him about, or things like that. So I did come around, I guess, like, and read more Bible passages, or at the end of my day, if I've had a hard day, like I really try to give it to God, and like, it's out of my control, and I remind myself, like, I can't control everything in my life. I can't control it's going to play out one way or the other, and like, I have to give that control up. And I still struggle. Like, I'm not perfect by any means, but so that's kind of how I walked through, and it was some really hard conversations. It was hard conversations. It really was.
Well, and I think that one of the things that, like, we hear these amazing stories, right, of like Shelby's too, of just like this being in this dark place, and all of a sudden now she's talking about God and her anxiety is fine, and these things, like, it's like polar opposites, right? But I want to emphasize that it was a lot of kicking and screaming to get here. And especially since I was literally dragging Shelby, I was like, you're coming with me, just so you know. And so as we're talking about this, I actually kind of want to go into, because Shelby's the perfect person to ask this, actually. I know, no pressure. So, because we did so much emotional work, probably more than, I mean, Megan and I did a lot, Christy and I did a lot, but it was more me and Shelby all of the time doing these emotional testing and releasing of things and whatnot. So I guess she's a good reference to what does that experience look like. I kind of walked through how we get to the emotion that we're looking at. Like I said, we narrowed it down to a time frame and all of these things, and like all of a sudden you're at this point and there's this emotion or this memory, and there's a couple of emotions that are associated with it, and then it's about getting your body to clear it, and whether or not you're ready to clear it. And some of that involves like talking it out or crying it out or sometimes an adjustment.
Yeah.
So I guess just go ahead and tell us, I guess from your perspective, what some of that looked like and what it actually releasing some of those things look like.
Yeah. Okay, so some of the testing, I could come up with my memory. Like, it just came to my head, and I was like, for example, my first emotion I ever cleared was about high school softball. and that stuck with me. Like, that was my first thing that I addressed, because softball was very important in my life. I played for 15 years.
But for reference, she came in and she wanted to deal about this relationship, and it was not what came up. Like, that's...
Yeah, so I was going to Taylor to help on my relationship issues, or, like the mentality, what's wrong with me? Like, there's a list.
Oh my gosh.
And I started with, like, stuff from, high school, undergrad. My parents are divorced. I think there's some of that in there. My failed marriage. So my ex-husband was, in some of that. And then we would finally get to, like, my current stuff.
It took forever to get there, basically, is what we're saying. Your body clears whatever's on top. Like, whatever it's ready to get rid of.
Yeah, so, okay, so some of the sessions, like, when we were, like, thinking about emotion, and we were, like, doing testing, like, this is the first half or second half of my life, like, I could come up with, like, nope, it's this, and, like, it would literally just pop into my brain, and whatever, and then sometimes I struggled, and I had to, like, we had to narrow it more down, and then I'd be like, oh, it's this, and so, depending I would say how buried it was, like, or blocked in my memory. I was trying to forget stuff, but obviously your body doesn't forget things. And so I would say I cried a lot, like I did, and that's one way to release emotions is crying. I had to talk through with it for Taylor, and Taylor would call me on my bullshit, like, okay, that's it. That's the whole story. And then she's like, no, it's not, Shelby. And, you have, I guess you don't have to, but, like, the way Taylor and I did this, I had to admit things out loud that, like, I really didn't want to, but I had to acknowledge them. Otherwise, this emotion wasn't going to be cleared. So that was, like, kind of the process that we, like, I guess that process. And then at the end of, like, talking through the specific emotion tied to the specific event or whatever, you clear it. So you release it from your body, and you have to accept that this is not serving you. And so I would say, like, this emotion no longer serves me. Like, I don't need it for my body. Like, God, please take this. There was, like, an exact saying. I haven't done clearing in a while. And I had to really focus. I would say that too. Like, I'd be like, okay, so this event from, I don't know, 5th grade or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't need this anymore. It doesn't serve me. It's not going to get me to my future. It's not, this isn't going to be anywhere. So that was, like, the biggest, probably the hardest thing was, like, letting go. Like, because, like, to let go of these emotions, because they weren't, there's no purpose to. I will say, like, when once you release emotions, doesn't mean that memory doesn't go away. It's not like your like memory's wiped, but you're not sitting there. Anxiety was my common theme with all my events. Surprised I didn't bring up the colored clay pot. That was a different emotion.
I do remember that one.
Yeah, I got a couple different emotions sometimes. So, and you let it go. You like it doesn't serve you, and you try to fight it, but like you're just better off for it. So it was a process, and like I would say the more we did it, the better I got at. Okay, like I don't need this emotion, or it doesn't wipe away this memory, or something happening to you. Yeah. So you're not really losing. Like you're not losing anything. And I don't look at that too, like that. This anxiety from these things.
I like that you mentioned that you don't, as you're releasing these things. I know, like, because I had that struggle with my own, that I felt like I wasn't ready to let, and I remember you had this too, where you weren't ready to let go of this person, but it's almost when you realize that you're not letting go of the person, you're letting, or what happened with it, you're letting go of the emotional pain that got stuck.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, a big turning point, I think, for both of us in that. And I also liked that you mentioned, because I took notes, because I'm doing my due diligence here. So you don't always have to say it out loud, like, but for Shelby, that was definitely the thing, because, I guess because Shelby's an extrovert, she's very vocal about things, so she needed, and words of affirmation are big for Shelby. So she's also done talk therapy before, and I have an undergrad degree in talk therapy, or in psychology, whatever my degree is. What is my degree in? I don't even know. Yes, thank you. But like that was like I like talk therapy because I think that for a lot of people it's like coming to your own conclusion with it. You have to, if you talk enough, you'll eventually wrap your brain around it, I guess. And I think that for Shelby, like doing that and then saying that was the key to getting some of it out. However, she was sneaky and would say things, and in the back of her head, she's like, just kidding, I'll keep this peace, and you're like, why are you trying to keep this peace? Let it go, And so the other thing that I think really helped Shelby, and there, like I said, there are lots of ways that you can get through releasing emotion. And we mentioned a couple of them, like adjusting or acupuncture or movement or food or, just specific conversations. Magnets are cool, just energy work, all sorts of things. But anyways, I guess one of the other ones that really worked for Shelby was imagery. And I would have this, I guess, I don't know, for lack of a way of saying it, I guess just a visual that I would give her of this emotion in a balloon.
Oh, yes. I know where you're going with this too. Yes. Okay, yeah, I know where you're going with that.
And she really responded to it well. And I think it's because something about her inner child really liked this balloon idea, I think. But I would tell her, like, let's gather all of these things. We're going to put it into a balloon, and then you're going to let the balloon float up, and then you're just going to cut the string, but it would take a lot of time. Obviously, that was very fast. It would take a lot of time, a lot of soothing tones, but that one was a really good one for you, too, I think.
Yeah. And then just to, like, touch base, I think what I do now with my anxiety, you also gave me this one, too, where to think of your thoughts as clouds, and they're, like, going in one ear and, like, out the other. And that's just really helped me, like, if I have a thought that pops, I'm like, oh, this is anxiety. This isn't necessary for me to dwell on or, spend, like, it's a cloud and it passes away. So, like, I still do that.
I like that one, too. I like to watch them go and watch all of the crazy damage that they're trying to do, you know, and then like, all
Yeah.
right, get out of here, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I mean, really through this journey, like, was recognizing what was anxiety and what was like, I guess, really me. Like my thoughts, I have separated like anxiety as my own little bubble, and kind of made it its own thing. And so, um, you know, oh, this person didn't, text me back or didn't answer my phone call. Like I get hung up on some stuff like that with friends and whatever. But it's like they're busy. They have lives. Like like they might be at work. They might be with their family or their boyfriend or whatever.
I
And
feel like
so,
before you were
but
like this Venn diagram. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where it's like all
yeah,
of them were overlapping and you're in the center and everything was anxiety and
yeah,
on every aspect. And
yeah.
now it's just like two circles and it's you and anxiety and there's overlap, but
But
you both kind of like are separate.
yeah, yeah. So I guess like that's part of it too with imagery, like just to help with like anxiety and imagery. Yeah, yeah. I liked those things. So some things that have helped me
I think
really.
that so I think I wanted to, when we brought Shelby on, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I mean, really all of the themes that were kind of on here were this no more boxes, being
Yeah,
from skeptic to spiritual, and anxiety. And they really all kind of overlap in this emotional muscle testing stuff that we were doing. Um, and it was important to me as we're talking about some of this because we've been talking about some really big picture mindset stuff. And I want to break it down simpler for some of it. Because some of it is hard. Like, okay, that's great for big picture, but how do I do that in real life? And I feel like we were totally winging it. Like, every step of the way was like, well, that didn't work, or well, that
yeah,
that was crazy. We did that. I can't believe that worked, or
yeah,
just every step of the way was winging it. And so as you're going through some of whatever it is you're going through, I want to emphasize that um, there's no right or wrong way. It's just whatever rings true to you. But some of the ways that we did it with this muscle testing, I definitely think you should look at um, the emotion code in general. It's an interesting thing. You can learn to do it. Muscle testing is pretty difficult to do on yourself well. Um, so I would highly recommend finding a practitioner, probably a chiropractor, but a practitioner of whatever sort that can do this and will work on the emotional aspects to help you. Um, but if you can't, then there are things that I think that we were talking about that you can utilize, like the imagery. That's a big one. Or breathing. Breathing is a huge thing. Learning to stop panic breathing for a second and just sit on the ground. And I know Shelby does this. I do this. I did this in the middle of an airport recently. Not that recently, but a little like a year ago. And for whatever reason, my system just started panicking and I was like having a full blown anxiety attack for no reason. And I mean, I was already through the TSA and everything, which would give you anxiety, right? I'm just
yeah,
sitting there waiting and I'm having a full blown anxiety attack. I literally sit on the floor, like fully on the floor in the middle of the airport. And I'm like in this corner and I'm just like listening, like with my eyes closed, listening to some music, like it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And I'm like breathing, like so breathing is super important for some of this. Go ahead, you were gonna say something.
Well, I was just thinking about the first messages I sent you where it was having a panic attack, and I'm like telling Taylor that I'm in the middle of this panic attack and like I can't come down.
In a closet.
Yeah, in the closet, can't come down, blah blah blah. And you gave me the 5 things, like 5 things you see. Um,
Oh,
like you focus on other things. So like, oh, I have my water bottle, and you name like 5 things, and you try to focus on something else. So that was something you gave me, Tim. I don't do that one as much, but I would say the biggest thing is gratefuls.
yeah.
I mean, really.
Well, so I got that one, the five things, or really just anything. I mean, I got that
Yeah.
one when I had post murder that I had witnessed. I got that one from my psychologist at the time. Um, and that one is basically just being present and being aware of presence. So basically, you're saying, okay, what is around me? Or you can do it. And if there's nothing around you, if that's too overwhelming, you can do yourself. So, like, how does it feel with my feet on the floor? What do I feel? What do my feet feel like? Can I feel my socks? Can I
Yeah.
feel the chair underneath me? Can I feel it? What does it feel like? Where does it stop? Like those kinds of things. Or I always liked doing like trees. I would try and see how many different shades of green I could find in the tree, and I would just count them. And it's just this quiet, forceful mindfulness, I guess, that it's really powerful. But it takes a minute, that's for sure, and it takes some practice.
Yeah, yeah. I don't use that one as much when I'm not as good as that if I'm in the middle of a panic attack to
Right.
do like the five thing, but like I would say breathing's my big one, and then the balloon or the cloud,
Yeah.
like that. It's like it's gonna go away. Like
Yeah.
it's
And I
yeah,
think there's a different variety. You should have an arsenal
yeah,
to attack with anxiety with. But Gratefuls is also a really good one. I struggled with that one more while I was during an anxiety attack or during a panic attack because I don't feel like talking about gratefuls. I'm freaking out. Like, I mean,
yeah,
um, but I think in general, saying my mom used to drive me nuts with this when she would say this, but like, name three things that you were grateful for today, and it was, and I think we've talked about these where it was just like, I'm grateful that I made it through the day. Kind of thing. I mean, sometimes you're sassy pants and do that, but other days you have like a laundry list of that, and you're starting to feel more gratitude. And as you feel those things, it's things that are bad seem less bad when you have all of this positivity around you. It takes a while for it to implement, for your brain to start overruling all of the bad negativity that that this world makes you think. But I think over time those gratefuls are pretty instrumental in turning things around. And I think every single person that we've talked to so far has basically said the same thing. So I'm gonna toss that over to you and see what
yeah.
other thoughts you have.
I do my gratefuls at the end of the day. I know some people that do them at the beginning of the day, or just things that they're grateful in general. But I try to do it at the end of my day so I can say gratefuls whatever. Like I had this great patient encounter, or I got to talk to one of my friends, or my boyfriend surprised me and made dinner. And like when I talk about gratefuls, it doesn't have to be these elaborate, somebody surprised me with balloons and a new car today, like it doesn't have to be these great gestures. It's just like seriously like little things. I got lunch today. One of my chiro jobs that I first started, like I barely got lunch, and so some days my like gratefuls was just that I got to sit down and eat my lunch through my day, and I'm grateful I woke up, or like it doesn't have to be these big grand things. It's just your daily stuff and what you're grateful for that happened through the day or whatever. So I would say grateful saved my life. So Taylor had me start doing them around this time that we're learning about the emotional code and like kind of the beginning of my journey. I've kept journals, like I've written gratefuls down like every night. Sometimes it's harder to do that because you fall asleep, but I always try to tell them in my head whatever I'm grateful for. I even started like in the moment, like after something happens, like, oh, I'm really grateful that, such and such happened. Or, one of my patients surprised me with like an energy drink that was like 0 calories, I don't know, all this stuff. And like, I didn't ask her to bring me a drink, but, I was just grateful that my patient, thought of me and brought me something new to try. And so like sometimes I do gratefuls in the moment, like as well, but it's just having gratitude for your life and what you can accomplish. And we Um, I gotta come home to a house. I got a roof over my head. I have a car to get me to work. Like, I have a job. Like, I have groceries in my fridge. Like, you know, there's some countries and some people that don't get to have those things, or, you know, and so you just, you know, you pray, say that you're grateful for those things and whatever, and kind of rambling, but you guys get the point that they don't have to be anything super lavish like groceries, right?
Excuse me. I think that, I mean, gratefuls are just, they're powerful tools. And it was probably the number one thing that I would encourage any of you to start with. It's such a small thing. And even if it's, like we said, I'm grateful that the day ended. You know, I'm grateful that I didn't kill somebody today. You know, like, those are okay things, you know. But I definitely encourage that. But there are a couple of other ones, like we mentioned a couple already, but I also wanted to add some that were good for me. Was like grounding rituals. So you can have, I mean, two different things with this. So grounding in general is going to go put your feet or your body, as much of your body as you can, on the earth. And whether it's like grass or the floor or whatever, it doesn't super matter, but just trying to ground. There's something stable about that. And we can talk about, you know, like whether the ions and blah, 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 blah. I don't care. It's stable, and it feels like it's a solid thing that is not gonna move. You know what I mean? So that's what you need when you're having some of these, is you need stability. So that's why a lot of us, you know, when we're having panic attacks, we want like a corner or a closet or something, right? Like something that is stable. So putting as much of yourself on the ground as possible is going to help you feel more stable. But other grounding rituals would be like an actual ritual. So like every morning I try to play some sort of, and we can talk about meditation or whatever it looks like for you, but I play Jesus music every morning to try and like set the intention of my day. I light a Jesus candle, and then I put on my makeup and get ready for the day. But during that time, I'm not really thinking about anything. You know, I'm not thinking about what does the day look like or any of that. It's just quiet time, just quiet in Taylor's head. Now, sometimes, you know, you could insert your gratefuls in there, you know, and say, this is a great time to, you know, I want to set my intention for the day or whatever. For me, that's not how I do it. I just need to chill. Sometimes meditation can be more purposeful, whatever that looks like. But a lot of the times, these rituals, this unwinding of, and then just this quiet time, is really a powerful grounding thing. And it's, especially in something like anxiety, getting your mind to be quiet is very, very difficult. So
it's so hard.
yes, so finding whatever that is. Like, I've tried with all sorts of like chill piano music and stuff like that, but I can't get it to be quiet. But for whatever reason, when it's God music, I can get it to be quiet. Or even if it's just other music that has words, I can get them to be quiet, you know, like, 'cause I'm just listening. So find whatever it is, you know, that helps you be quiet in your head, and set that as part of your ritual, because rituals are also super important with anxiety. So I would say that one. Then I would also say, this is kind of a me thing. I don't know that Shelby is on board with this one. That's all right. I find that just doing random acts of kindness or saying nice things or whatever, just out of nowhere, it's really powerful, because to some extent I'm in control. So I get to take that powerful intention or that powerful word or that act or whatever, and I get to start the spin of something positive. You know, I put that positive energy in the universe, and I controlled that, and wherever it goes next, I can't control, but I pushed it, you know, and I know that it was positive, and I know that it's going to help somebody, you know. So for me, that was a powerful thing too, just to do nice things, even if that was, you know, just tolerating when Shelby's freaking out, you know, like, but no, just kidding. Another one that I really liked, and I did this mostly when I needed to think, about hard topics, and I would just go float in the swimming pool or wherever, because floating is literally letting go. It is literally being in the middle of all sorts of little ripples, and you can't really control any of those, and you don't really know where you're going. You're just floating. You're able to keep your head above the water and breathe, and everything else is whatever. And so I really liked floating. I thought that it was a very good way. I mean, you can also ground in water, but I thought that that was a really good way to I don't know, I guess just keep things chill, if that makes sense. It keep me chill in my head. And I don't know. I really appreciated that as a way to help ground and help get through anxiety. Do you have any other ones that you would recommend?
So with anxiety, I always feel like I have 1,000 tabs open in my head, like constantly. And so I write things down a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big planner person. I always have been, but like, I write down like when all my bills are due, or I have
lists are good.
Plans. Huh?
Lists are good.
Yeah, so like I make lists and I write down like when I have plans, and the minute I know I have a plan, like it pretty much goes in my planner. And I would say when I make big decisions, I'm a pro and con list kind of girl. I write it down. Literally write down all the pros to whatever decision I have to make and all their cons. And but at the end of the day, I do put my heart into some of it. I don't just go off by a list like, oh, there's more, cons, so it's a no, like, whatever. But I try to do what feels right, I would say. So that's how, like, I deal with my 1,000 tabs open a day. Like, I have to write things down. It's another way to get it out because, like, to me, if I'm writing it down, it's, like, out of my head. Like, I know it's on a piece of paper somewhere or a sticky note or whatever. So, that helps me ground. So I just don't have all these thoughts all the time. Like,
yeah. It seems like a lot of these themes for what we do seem to focus on either getting it out, finding stability, or some kind of semblance of control, even if we understand that it is a very small semblance of control. I have to stop this for a second. So my screen is recording, and I just had to stop this because this is so funny. Michael is texting me, and he just texted me that he took a poop break. It was calling me, and it came up on my screen.
Oh, God.
I'm going to have to see if I can edit that out. That's so bad. I don't know how to edit it out.
Oh, gosh.
Because he's with some people. Sorry, that was like... Okay. So yeah, I think a lot of those are really interesting themes that they seem to just be circling around. And I think with anxiety in general, those are some fantastic tools to really... And yours might be different. There's no right or wrong way to deal with anxiety, obviously. But those are really the ones that we found effective, and by we I mean a couple of us, but but Shelby and I did a lot of work. But be prepared that as you're going through some of this, that it's going to challenge so many things, because anxiety is about all three of those things, right? It's about this lack of stability, this lack of in where you are and who you are and what that looks like. And I guess stability in being able to handle whatever comes next. But also it's about this idea of not having any control of what comes next. And what does that mean if I can't control it? And then I guess lastly, what was my last one?
Flexibility, lack of control.
Grounding. Oh, grounding, getting it out. That's right. Yes, that's good, right? This is the part where I didn't take notes. But yeah, getting it out. I think so much of this, and that's a theme across a lot of these things, is with any kind of emotional healing and work. If you let it get stuck in your body, then it just becomes toxic. I mean, you can let generally, and I think that we talked about this. Christy Church talked about how um, emotions are supposed to be like feelings in motion, basically, or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing badly, but that it's supposed to get out of your body and you're supposed to feel it as a passing sense. It's not, who you are or a constant. But people with generalized anxiety stuff, it becomes part of who you are, or I guess we could talk about with depression or whatever. And because it's so prevalent, it stays. But if we can provide you some sort of stability or some sort of semblance of control, like we said, or just a way to get it out, those are going to be the best ways. Now, with that, there are positive ways, and then there are definitely toxic ways. And I'm sure that if you're experiencing some of these, that you know exactly what toxic ways that you're using. I know Shelby and I both had our own, and it's difficult. So healthy, positive ways to get it out, whether it's, and I guess we didn't include, like, you also do like exercise or play softball
Yeah.
with
Yeah, so
yours.
I still exercise, and then last year I changed my diet to gluten and dairy free. Now I have flirted with gluten and dairy in the last few months, and I feel like crap when I do. But so I made like a huge dietary change last year too. So yeah.
Well, and diet's an interesting one because diet is twofold beneficial in this situation. So, first of all, it's giving you control over something, right? That you can
Yeah.
change and
Yeah.
have positive effects for. But also, a lot of those foods can actually force you into a generalized anxiety state. So, or a depressive state or whatever. So,
Yeah.
managing your diet is actually a pretty powerful tool to use. And I think for Shelby, it has been. I'm gonna call you out on this. It's gonna be great. Shelby, when she was at some of her worst, would have come to me and she had coffee and soda and M&Ms. That's all she had all day, and I was like, "Why do you think you're a crazy person? Like, eat something real, drink some water. Like." And she was like, "My stomach hurts," and I'm like, "Yes, because you're spitting like a crazy person. Like, we have to
Well, it's
eat."
interesting. You bring up my M&M's, just my favorite candy. When you're dairy free, you can't have them. It drives me nuts. Anyways, that was my COVID medicine. It was salt. Like I get so anxious for games that I couldn't like eat real food, and so I just ate M&M's. So like that's what I ate. Was M&M's. Like that was the only thing I could stomach, or it felt in my head
Yeah.
I could stomach. I guess like I thought I could stomach. So having a new relationship with food and like cooking. I hate
Oh
cooking.
my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Too. But meal prepping, really setting myself up for like success for the week. So just to make sure that I have like snacks. I found gluten free chocolate, so I was right with the world, but I found like some chocolate I could have. I try not to like splurge. Like I don't eat the whole bag. But
Well, and it doesn't have
you
to be gluten and dairy free. It can be.
you
There's a
don't
lot of
have to be.
things. Yeah.
But I do feel better. Um, anyways, so like I found things that I still can enjoy and still have good food, and still taste good, and like whatever. And I always feel better when I exercise, and I always have felt better when like once I don't exercise, I'm like blah, like dragging. I want to eat fast food. I want to have pop. Like I want to make all the not great lifestyle choices, but like once I slowly get back into eating healthier and working out, like I know I feel so much better. Like I feel better. I even get up earlier, which is amazing because I have to sleep. But I feel better. But like so, but that's more a recent
It's true.
Yeah.
One of the things that I saw this meme, or I guess it's not a meme. I don't know what to call them when they just post, like just this post. I saw this post, and I'm gonna try not to butcher it. It said, oh crap, hang on. It said that find the thing that you forget about time and do more of that. And I think that that's a really good example for the things that we're talking about. Um, Whatever it is that brings you so much joy that you forget, or just so much quiet that you lose track of what time is. And I know, like for Shelby, it was baseball or softball, whatever girls play. uh, but you know, some of those other things, like, and she's a big reader, so I know that was a big thing for her. Um, so some of these things that, like, for me, when I think of things that make me lose track of time, it's going to be spending time outside, but not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have to be doing things. It's going to be a quiet time outside. Like, it's going to be, I don't know, taking a nap or listening to music outside, you know, or whatever, or going on a nature walk or something like that. Like, it's going to be chill, and I'll lose track of time that way. Because I feel like sometimes if it's not chill, then I'm like counting the minutes until it's done. Like, but
Yeah.
that and like music, I lose track of time with music. Or good deep conversations, you know. So those are the things that are going to nurture your soul. And when you do those things, when you have your life surrounded by all of this positive, deep stuff, it's going to help bring you grounding, because those are the things that ground you. Those are the things where your soul can be quiet. And so, like, when we were going through some of this, um, for me, I told you, deep conversations, that's my jam. I'm really good at it.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking, we're doing the emotional clearing or whatever. Obviously, it's like one long, intense, deep conversation. And to the point where I'm like, okay, Shelby, you got to get out now. You know, like it was too much for, you know, me at some point. But those things, I mean, I I felt so much more grounded while I was going through some of that stuff because of the work that we were doing all together. Yeah, because it just, I was going through so much shit during that time. Like, it was really bad. But I found healing and stability, um through all of these annoying extrovert people that decided to come over to my house and force me to mingle with them. But I did find a lot of healing because we were doing all of that stuff. I was busy, because they wouldn't leave me alone. I was forced to have these long conversations, you know.
Yeah, you're forced out to dinner.
But yes, so like surrounding yourself with this positivity, with true, genuine expression, and people that actually give a shit about you, you know, and care about your healing. You know, they're not going to force you one way or the other. They're just going to be there, and they're going to talk it out with you and whatever. And one of the things that I appreciate about Shelby, because we've had our ups and downs, but one of the things that I really appreciate about Shelby is that there's literally nothing that I could tell her that she wouldn't have a response to or talk to me about. Like, I have told her some crazy shit. And she's just like, all right, me too. Like, what? You know, like, so, um, as you go through some of this, find your soul tribe, I guess, and it's going to help you stay grounded through more of this. But, if in the interim, a lot of these tools are just super helpful. And, um, I guess I feel like that is, as we talked about the best ways to handle, you know, your anxiety and your transition and all of that, I feel like, again, that the best thing that we can take from this and that we can give to other people based off of what you and I experienced together was some of these tools, you know, just this insight into this world of emotional healing, using anxiety, I guess, as the primary in that. And what does that look like? What are all the tools that you learned? Like that kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, I'd say, like, who's ever struggling, out there listening to this, like, you're not alone, and don't feel crazy, because that's how I felt. Like, I first came to Taylor, and I was like, I just feel crazy. Like, I feel crazy all the time, like, all these things, and be ready to do the work. You have to take that responsibility on. Like, I was at a point in my life where I was like, okay, like, enough. Like, I can't be like this. I can't live like this. And I was in the middle of my doctorates. Like, I had classes and tests and all the things to do. And so, be ready to do the work. You can always reach out to Dr. Taylor or me. Like, I'd be more than willing to talk. I'm pretty chatty Cathy if you haven't haven't gathered.
You notice how she volunteered me?
Like, I volunteered your car that one time too.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, I think I'm glad that you also said that about well, first I guess about us volunteering my time. No, kidding. But you're definitely not alone. But I wanted to say with that, to add to what you just said, was that everybody has to get to this breaking point of where you're willing to do the work, because until then, it's just like, well, I kind of know I need to, but maybe it's not real. And that's with anything. That's with literally taking care of yourself on any level. But I know we deal with this with our patients all the time, like, well, when you're ready, let me know, and I can help you. But it takes both of us, because I only see you once a week, but you will, I guess I'm just gonna say this, you will fail. You will. You're going to try and you're going to fail. But you're not always gonna fail. Just this round. And when you're ready, when you're really, really ready, then you're not gonna fail, because there's no other option. Like, you have to change because you're gonna go crazy. And it's just that point where you hit this wall and that's it. So don't beat yourself up for the little fails, because again, it's kind of working yourself up to this big one. And when it matters, you make it. You're gonna succeed, period. So there's no really if, ands, or buts about that. You're just forced. It's how much do you have to be nudged until you hit that 2x4 effect, and you're like, bam, all right, I got it, I'll change. But yeah, don't beat yourself up for the fails up until that point.
It's like, so, I lived in New Mexico for undergrad, and my anxiety was pretty bad down there. It was, and I would try and do things to make it better, but it really wasn't getting better. And then, came back to Nebraska for a year, and then I went to higher school. And that's when, like, shit really hit the fan, and I had no choice but to, confront, anxiety, like, head on. And
I definitely judged her.
Okay.
But it was amusing judgment. So like I would nudge her and be like, "You're being ridiculous."
Because I was,
Mostly.
I
Go.
mean, really, that's sometimes what you need is someone to call you like, no,
Well, mostly
no.
because it was to get her to laugh. So I wanted to throw that in
Oh,
there
okay.
too. Laughter is a really, especially if you can laugh at yourself,
Yeah.
you're on a really good track then because, um, not everything has to be this dire thing. So that's one of the tools that I like to use a lot. So I get sarcastic or whatever and I nudge people, to get them to laugh. And once you're there, it's like, okay, maybe this isn't so serious. Um,
Yeah.
but I think with all of that said, I'm going to say that I'm going to give my closing statement on it, I guess, and see what else you have to say. Um, because I think that it really sums up all of that. Like we were just saying a little bit ago, I think that this is a journey, and anxiety and depression and all of these emotions, they take a while to unwind. So, like I said, the little fails and all of that getting up to it, don't beat yourself up. But one day it's going to be something that is significant and it's going to be a pretty significant turnaround. And you're going to find that you feel so much better and you have all of these tools now. But it started with these tiny little steps that you took to make it better. And they were healthy steps. And you purposely took those steps, like gratefuls or breathing or talk therapy or whatever. But all of these things where you purposely took action to either provide yourself stability, to get it out, or to I don't even remember my third one. I should really write these things down. Um, but anyways, you know what I'm talking about. I think that
Yeah.
if we can provide ourselves those just basics, then anxiety is nothing. It just melts when semblance of control. That was the other one. Um, it just melts in the face of those things because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if what happens tomorrow or if it's going to be this, what this big experience looks like or whatever, because I know that I am solid, I am grounded, like let's say for example, we just had an event and sometimes I get worked up before events or whatever. And um but I know that like I I am solid. I am a good chiropractor. I have a solid practice. I have a solid team, and we're at this event, and it's gonna be fine. Because I have all the support behind me, including myself. And that God didn't get me here to build this practice for it to fail. So um, I know that it's going to be fine because I found this stability. So the little bit of control that I can put out into the world is that I can control me in this moment because everything is fine because I found stability. So whatever that looks like, I guess finding the areas that provide you stability and then being present as much as you can through your anxiety is, I guess, my best advice through that. And then, like I said, finding a soul tribe to really help you through that. People that are going to listen to you, grow with you, not judge you, or make fun of you, whatever. But just people that understand you on a deeper level, and that's going to super provide the stability you need to be able to conquer things like anxiety. That's my spiel.
I guess my skill is like, and then this is something that came up like Taylor gave me, but everything's like a spiral staircase, and so like you go up a little bit, and you might fall back down, but you might go up a little bit more and fall back down. And that was like really great when I was going through like my midst of my really bad stuff. um, that you just had to keep working through each thing, and it was going to get better, and it was going to get better. And I remember asking Taylor all the time, like, is it going to be better? Like, am I going to feel better? Is there one day I'm not going to cry, or not have a panic attack, or whatever? And she always said yes. There'd be a day, there'd be a day that I wouldn't cry, or have a panic attack, and she's right. I yourself and, find ways that you can ground, and, find little ways to have control, but know that you did everything you can. Like, and that was a big thing with Taylor. Okay, what else would you would have done, Shelby? Well, I don't know. That was always my answer. I don't know. Well, you did everything you could, and it's like this was still the outcome, and so how you deal with it. Or what if I don't like to be late anywhere. Taylor's like, well, what happens if you're 5 minutes late? Well, I don't know. So that's like a really small one. But traffic, there's car accident, whatever it may be. So, anyways, that's my own spiel. It's really a journey, and it's those hills and valleys, and just know it's gonna get better. And one day you're gonna come out on the other side, and you're gonna be like, well, I could just breathe and be chill, and I could sit on the couch and just watch a TV show and not have 1,000 tabs open, or be upset or whatever. And you find other ways to deal with things, and it gets better. So it will get better. Just know that.
I think I wanted to add two things on yours. First was the spiral staircase, and then the second was getting better, the universe getting better. So for as far as the spiral staircase, so yes, the spiral staircase, you can go up and down and all around with that, obviously. But I think the key to the spiral staircase is this understanding that healing is not linear. You don't move past an event. You don't suddenly get over it and never deal with it again. It's you are up going along the spiral staircase, and in the center are all of these events that happen to you. And so, at the very beginning of when the event happened, you're at the bottom of the spiral staircase, and this event looks massive. It's above you, and it's just like this massive problem where you're never going to get under or get over. And so as you keep going up the staircase, though, the event, you move through it, and then at some point you look down and the event's way below you. Now, each time you come back to that event, you are coming at it from a different perspective along the staircase. And so it's okay to continuously have these parts where you're trying to move through the spiral staircase or try to move through this event, because it doesn't mean that you're falling back necessarily. It means that you are in a different perspective, in a different place on that staircase. Now, you might have fallen back, but regardless, this staircase is always from a different perspective, and it's okay. Healing is not linear. And the other part of what she was saying was that trusting that the universe has your back is a hard thing, especially when you're in this place where you're like, shit just keeps happening, like Shelby was with the chessboard being wiped off or whatever, it's hard to trust that the universe has your back and that things are going to work out and balance. But that's just generally how things work. You can see that in nature across the board. So trusting that there are things bigger than us, and that not everything that sometimes I think the best way to go about it is that maybe I'm too small and minuscule for it to, the universe to be attacking me, this is just parts of that. But the other part of it is that it really does balance out. And I really like the idea of, I can't control all of these things. I literally can't. And that can be a source of stress to say, I cannot control anything when I walk out that door. I can't even control the things in the door. I can't even control if I get out of bed. If a spider falls in my bed and bites me, and I die, I literally can't control anything except for what's in my head, and maybe how my body moves or something. Do you know what I mean? I literally cannot control anything around me. And realizing that can be super stress inducing, but it's also really empowering, because the things that you can control, you can really control. And everything else, it's going to work out. It just is, because you have control over you, and it's enough. For whatever reason, it's enough. So in those moments where the universe is against you and you're just like, yay, positivity, yeah, right. You know, I get that. And I know Shelby gets that. Do the gratefuls, do the breathing, just do it anyways. You know, like you don't have to put your heart into it. It doesn't matter. You're just making a ritual. You're doing it just to do it. So, and then do it the next day. And this is stupid. Do it again. You know, like eventually it's going to change how you rewire things in your brain. You know, you're going to think more towards, you're going to look more towards the things that are positive and gratifying and all of that. And then all of a sudden the universe just opens up. And I'm not saying that everything is amazing, but I am saying that I can see it from a different perspective because I changed my staircase, if that makes sense. Or I changed where I'm at on the staircase.
Yeah.
So, with that said, I think that's a good way to wrap this up. We gave you a lot of tools today that I hope you utilize. And again, even though Shelby volunteered me for time, you know that you are more than welcome to reach out to me or to Shelby, just to talk about any of these things. We're definitely more than willing to listen. We have more than our fair share of experience in these things, and really all of the ways to treat them too. So definitely feel free to reach out. Where can they find you, Shelby?
So my Instagram is like this _ Shelby _ C, and then I don't have any professional pages, so you can find my Facebook. It's just Shelby Carter.
Where can they find you in Nebraska? Where can they find you in Nebraska if they want to treat
So I'm currently practicing Oregon chiropractic and acupuncture. It's outside, so I'm a small office, and obviously we're more boutique style of owners, so always here, always excited to help, and anything we can do to help manage pain or what you're going through, or just want to get off like coffees. I started from. So, but yeah, I just want to say thank you, Dr. Taylor, for having me on here, and I hope you guys learned some tools that you can help anxiety and
Well, I'm pretty sure we will be having Shelby on again. She's got some interesting topics, and I think that and it's not all anxiety, I promise. But you know, there's shades of that everywhere. But we'll probably be having her on again at some point as we make some of the rounds. Because some of these stories I would like to delve deeper into. She's got some good ones. So. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and call this a good night because it's like 9:00 p.m. And then I am going to cut to our actual outro. Thanks, guys. All right, guys, that wraps up another episode of Fearlessly Unbroken. I am really excited, and I hope that you enjoyed Dr. Shelby Carter. She is definitely a laugh and a half, and just a really good person to learn from. And I am already regretting, because it's not recorded, to say this, but I am very grateful that she is my friend, and that you get to experience her now a little bit too. I apologize for the difficulty in understanding her. Hers was off of a computer and not off of like a microphone and all fancy things. So hopefully that didn't bother you too much. But aside from that, I tried to up the audio quality as much as I could on that one. Please feel free to reach out to her. And then, of course, as always, you can reach out to us. You can follow us on Fearlessly Unbroken on any of the major podcasting platforms. And then, of course, we have a Facebook for Fearlessly Unbroken. And then all of our Inner Sanctum stuff, which is on all of the platforms. And we have our website, www.innersanctum.com. Or sanctumchiropractic.com. I know my website, it's fine. And then, of course, you can follow me at Dr. Taylor Ray Luster on really all of the platforms. I had a little bit of an incident getting some of these things out, so sorry it took a little bit for these. I had a recording mishap, so hopefully the rest of this will be smooth sailing. My next up, I'm hoping, will be Mr. Justin Rinder, who was supposed to be before this one, and then things just got crazy. So hopefully Justin Rinder will be up next, and Dr. Rachel Taylor is coming up along this way too. So I am definitely excited to start bringing you some more regular episodes. Sorry, I got a little crazy. But definitely stay on top of a bunch of these things. We have a whole lot of stuff coming up and some really, really great conversations. I cannot wait to continue talking with you about so many things. And we tried to change the format a little bit this time to where I really want to give you tools to use for yourself as well. Not just amazing stories, but tools that these people got from these stories. So like, besides the gratitude and whatnot, which you hear a lot of us using, I really want you to be able to, if you have anxiety, tips to manage it, like realistic things that you can do at home, that kind of thing. So we're going to start incorporating a little bit more of that as things go along as well, because that's obviously helpful then, right? So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and I think I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks, guys. Stay amazing, stay strong, stay fearless, stay unbroken. You are fearlessly unbroken, my friend. Thanks. Have a good one.